And welcome everybody. Round 18 of the 2018 FIA F1 World Championship. Another exciting round of tyres, and more tyres. Just to recap the race quickly, we were in Austin, Texas, what is undoubtedly a fantastic circuit. Always provides extremely challenging conditions for the cars, and this year was more than no exception. We had two wet days, and then finally dry on qualifying to a degree, and then dry in the race. So it was one of those excuses abound races, but it was a normal race, really, no overtaking. Sebastian Vettel drove into someone. Max Verstappen crashed. Grosjean crashed. What can we say? Oh yeah, Daniel Ricciardo broke down. Standard race for this year, really, and as such, I think everybody did very well. Those that finished, I've got to say a huge congratulations to Kimi Raikkonen. I am so pleased that he won the race. Really, he couldn't go to a better man. And obviously the championship is over and done. So we just want more races, results. I've got a lot more to say in reality, but I'd like to pass this over to Fabio just to tell me what I've misconstrued about the race so far.
That was the best fucking race of the year. Positive. I mean, first of all, who did Max Verstappen crash into? Because you said Max Verstappen crashed. That was probably the only race he didn't crash into anybody.
Yeah, no, didn't he crash into? Oh no, it was Ricardo. I beg your pardon, it was Ricardo. Yeah. So sorry. Yeah, of course, Ricardo was the one that crashed. Yeah, I beg your pardon.
No,
it was such an interesting race for me that I get those two mixed up all the time. But anyway, yeah.
Because you can mix up Max Verstappen with Ricciardo. Anyway, that was the best fucking race of the year. That was an amazing race. I had so much fun. You would not believe it. It was incredible. There was everything. There was contact. There was people racing hard, different tactics, people making 3 instead of 2 tire changes. I mean, there was fucking everything. I mean, we even saw a guy pretending to go in, for a tire change, and he didn't. That was fucking. I mean, the only thing which was missing were hookers on the tracks and probably, I don't know, a couple of cows running by. That was fucking amazing. It was brilliant, and of course, we all love the fact that Kimi Raikkonen won. I think that anybody which likes F1, which likes races, when Kimi wins, he is all over the place because that guy really deserves it. And so very good race.
Well, tactically, he drove a brilliant race, no doubt about it. He used the second stint on his tire, or the end of his first stint on his tires, to slow Lewis down and to eat his tires. And then later that paid dividends because it obviously meant Lewis had to come in too early. And stretch his tires too far. So really just fantastic tactics.
Yes.
Whether you do it yourself or your teammate does it, I don't see much difference, like you said last week. But I think Kimi doing it this week is perfectly fine as well. So
yeah, it was really well done. I think we should ban altogether the Friday tests. Because if that's the result, fuck it. They should, yeah. Because the whole thing was born because of the fact that on Friday it rained, so they had no time to actually try the tires to see how long they were going to last, and blah 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 blah. So on Sunday, and of course on Saturday, you're going for the qualifying, so you have no time to try the tires. So on Sunday, it's up for grabs. And I think, if that's the result, I would say fuck Friday. Let's do. I mean, they want to save a lot of money. They will save a lot of money by not making the test, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's true. But how much is a lot of money? And it's not that much in considering. But obviously, look, I strongly disagree because I think you need to test this technology. One of the Ferrari's problems, and one of the reasons I think this year that maybe this hasn't been good is in recent races, the updates they brought haven't worked as they wanted. So, I think that's a contributing factor to why Seb hasn't been racing as hard as he
No,
could.
you have a point there. The thing is that the way the car they're built right now, tires are such a big part of the equation
Huge, yeah.
I mean, if I'm partially serious here. I mean, if that can help to have a more bizarre races. I mean, what was the last time that you remember that you saw a race where one of the leading cars made a different? When I mean different, I mean completely different tire tactics. Hamilton went for two changes, while the other guys went for one. They all started with different tires. If you remember, I mean, that was brilliant, and I mean. Of course, the track helped it because the track. You said it well. It's a very good track, but I think I mean, as I said, I'm halfway serious there. Might be something, but anyway, very good race.
I mean, I understand what you're saying in terms of trying to make the whole thing more unpredictable. But, I think you can take that too far. And I think restricting testing at each circuit before you start racing has hallmarks of danger and unsafetyness that would be complained about. Plus, the advantage, of course, is to the bigger teams because there is restricted practice. All right. If there wasn't restricted practice, then, it wouldn't be such an advantage for the big teams because it takes longer for the small teams to dial their cars in.
I mean,
the rules about practice have come about in the way they have because the large teams want that. It's to their advantage to have this limited practice. We used to get a lot more, like maybe I can't remember exactly. There were two practices on the Thursday. There was Thursday and Friday practice. Yeah. So it was double the length of practice. And without restrictions on engines or anything like that, then you could practice for the whole of those 6 hours to dial your car in, and that favored the lower teams then.
I mean, as far as big team now, there is not really that much of a change. They're still the favorites. So I mean, yeah, I see your point, but it's not that they're gonna some teams are going to be less favorite. I mean, it can't be less favorite than now,
Well, whatever change you make, I don't think you're going to be able to change the fact that the advantage is always going to be with the bigger teams. They can throw more people at it and analyze it more quickly, and therefore react more quickly on the track.
No, I agree with you.
So without extending practice, I don't think you're going to get around that. And even when you do, the cars are so complex, right, that you may not even manage then. And I do think this idea of just I mean, they've been around for quite a while, but the Parc Fermé regulations, I do kind of disagree with them. I think
that's bullshit. I totally agree with you. That's total bullshit.
Yeah. So and I think that. So even when you do have longer practices, you wouldn't be able to use it necessarily. And I just think, I can't see why you can't change the cars right up till the end of qualifying like it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you.
Race day. I mean, I think even before that, they used to change the cars for race day. They get up in the morning and go, right, okay, it's wet. We need a wet setup. Let's go.
Yeah, I guess
that's ridiculous. Setting your car up for the dry and then having to race in the wet. That's just ridiculous.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what I'm just saying, and again, it's a bizarre idea. I haven't really worked it out, completely. But I'm just free balling. What I'm just trying to say is that you either have proper practice, and by proper practice, I mean that during the year you can have test sessions, and all that stuff. Or, I mean, this to me really seems to be like an halfway, something which is in the middle, which doesn't really help anybody. So what I'm just saying is that you either go the full Monty and then
Yeah.
you say, okay, you have, you know, test practices and you can change stuff, or you have nothing at all. This kind of thing, it doesn't really make, you know, too much sense. And also, it's difficult because, you know, from a technical point of view, you're totally right. We want to see those cars performing to their best, you know, to their, you know, the top of the performances. But we got to find an agreement here. If the current trend of F1 is to have more show, you have more show by making things more unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is something they will have to you know, to figure out at a certain point.
Sure. I mean, you know, it's the question. It's the $1 million question, right? That Bernie had for the last 20 years of it, you know, 15
Yes.
years or so
Yeah.
of it. Well, since the cars got really serious in like the 2003, 2004 season, around there, the cars started getting, you know, ridiculously fast, and they couldn't follow each other back then either. So yeah, I mean, you know, what is Formula One about in that respect? Are we talking about racing as a team, and therefore the engineering is also a race, which is currently how Formula One is set up. It's a lot about not just the car you can design, but the upgrades you can bring during the season.
Yes.
For the different tracks, etc., etc. So you know, I think you got to decide which you want. One of the things I would point out is that Bernie solved it, right? I mean, he came up with many zany ideas like you know, sprinklers for the tracks and things like that, right? Which obviously never got used. But nonetheless, what he did come up with was restricting the wing sizes and whatever else, a few other little bits and pieces, and then taking us back to slicks again.
I agree.
Those changes made the difference. DRS, those differences made the difference that everybody has been complaining about.
Yes.
So I don't understand now, when we've gone back to the previous generation of saying, right, okay, now the cars are going to be aerodynamically amazing. Okay, when we've just muted them and had 3 good years where everybody's been saying, look, we're getting 70 overtakes in a Grand Prix.
No, I agree with you. I think that the reason is that it's the target that they want to address. You know, so if you want to have a show, I mean, these cars are brilliant for people which are into these kind of things, so they can appreciate technical things, you know, and those, you know, the subtle things that you can really appreciate. But for the general public, you know, they're boring as fuck. And I'm talking about every race but Sunday, because Sunday was fucking amazing. I gotta stress that out.
Okay.
So I think that's the problem that they're facing, you know. So if you want to have something which is more spectacular, they got to find a good balance between, you know, keeping the technical pinnacle of F1 with having something a little more spectacular. And I think that going with the less aerodynamic efficient cars might be a good thing. Yeah, I think that's a good route, you know, to
it's the only thing that's worked. It's the only thing that's worked.
Yeah, but you see, you know, the fact is, you know, if you remember the cars in like 2007, 2008, they got to a point where, you know, the aerodynamic was, you know, ridiculous.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
So it is not a given that if you have more restriction, you can have less efficient cars. Actually, sometimes it's quite the contrary, you know, because you have more constraints. The things that you have to do are so refined that, you know, it might be even more interesting. So I don't. And also there is a thing that has basically disappeared in F1, you know, for years, which is the mechanical efficiency, mechanical grip.
Yeah.
So that would be a route where, you know, it would be interesting to see something done.
Well, I mean, obviously we've got to assume that they have maximized that. And they do, right? I mean, McLaren is famous for trying to get its chassis to work mechanically as well as possible. And I would definitely argue that
Yeah.
Red Bull's idea of rake and how they brought that in over the last 10 years is also all to do with mechanical grip and not so much to do with aero as they might say that it is. I can't see that.
Yeah, but you see, I mean, we will never know, you know, until you put something in place and say, okay, you can't do these things. You can never know exactly what you can exploit in other areas, because right now you don't put too much time in mechanical grip, because you know that aerodynamic is so more important that you can overcome problems with aero. You know, the wing effect, you know, cars when they banned the the sides, you know, the slides, they say, okay, it's over, we got to start again, and now we have this kind of cars. So I think it's a very interesting challenge, you know, to do new things, to see where actually you can progress, you know, in this kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, I might dispute saying new things. Only that, you know, the reason the cars are as good as they are, and they've been able to develop the rake idea, I believe, is because of the diffuser. So, and that used to be banned, right? That was a banned item. So until whatever 2009, maybe they were banned. So, you know, I think it's those kind of changes that come in through the back door almost, right? That the FIA, you know, could get on top of, but never did because of the pressure of the teams wanting this development structure and these cars to be aerodynamically amazing, right?
But that's another good thing. You know, there was an engineer, a good friend of mine, which used to say that if you ever need a lawyer, you should not hire a lawyer. You should hire an F1 engineer, because they can read, you know, the rules and they can fuck it up like there is no tomorrow. You know, so it is good in a way. You know? So I mean, we will see what happens. I'm not too. I'm quite excited, you know, by the new changes, by that kind of thing, because there would be something that it has not been fully exploited right now, which will be way more important. So we'll see new areas of development, you know. Yeah, you're right when you say new. I'm not saying new, you know, but you know, development is development. So it might be really interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it was a model that somebody suggested. Mansell, I heard talking about it a while back, quite a while back, which was you know, to say, you know, look, let's just allow development on the underside, right? And let's not, you know, then let's restrict the wings, which is basically what they ended up doing. Except, you know, then maybe they didn't restrict the underside, and maybe they restricted the underside too much. And you know, and I can understand why they don't look as spectacular, right? When you don't see the cars with the big fancy wings. And that seems to me the issue that people are having, right? It's that they don't want to see skinny wings. They don't want to see restricted wings to that size. They want to see them in proportion that we've always seen them. And that's just fundamentally wrong if you're trying to make it a formula which has overtaking to the degree that cars can follow each other. It's never going to happen on any circuit. Doesn't matter how good your circuit is. If you're allowing wing constructions to be that complicated, and more importantly, body, which seems to me the point this year.
No, yeah, I understand your point, and you're right. I mean, you know, we agree on that fact. The thing which I will stress out is that if you have a less aerodynamic efficient car, you will probably get rid of that travesty of a thing, which is the DRS, which it doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. I mean, I don't like it. I never understood it. I think it's bullshit, because it's bullshit, you know. It's like it is the same thing as when you play Mario Kart, that you get faster if you are, you know, way in the back, and then you're faster, and this is the contrary. So I think it's something which is not good at all. But anyway, we'll see what happens.
No, I completely agree. I think it's a gimmick, and it's a gimmick right now that's completely needed. If not, it's completely underpowered, and they should extend the distances of the DRS considerably to allow the teams to, you know, get much higher top speeds, and therefore, you know, maybe give them an incentive to reduce the wing on the cars. But you know, at the moment, every car seems to have the same downforce, their maximum downforce every circuit.
Yeah,
This
it would
is
be
crazy.
different. Yeah, it would be different if there was if the 1 second thing wasn't there, so they can open the DRS every time. You know, that would be different because
Well, yeah, but then
now it's
you're just equalizing it, and the front car
yes,
gets its
yes,
DRS. So
yeah,
that
I
doesn't make
agree.
any difference, then, does it?
I
So
agree. Agree.
I think maybe they could make it 2 seconds, you know, and that might be a little more interesting. And if they keep it a shorter distance, or maybe extend the distance and make it 1 second still, or put the timing lines somewhere where the cars are as close together as they can be, like the apex of a corner.
Yeah. Anyway,
So there's several solutions for that.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, we have found all the solutions, of course, because nobody listens to us because we have all the fucking solutions.
Yeah, because we've only been watching for, like, I don't know, a lifetime.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
But anyway,
can be started on that.
But anyway.
Oh, by the way, I've been watching. I remember when Kimi won last time, so that was 5 years ago. So
yeah, me too. Yeah. Oh, I remember when Kimi won his first race. But
yeah,
anyway,
2003, I think it was.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't remember what year. You're kidding me? Like I remember it. No. I always used to get him confused anyway with Raikkonen. So. I mean, not Raikkonen, Hakkinen.
Hakkinen, yeah. And by the way, he beat Hakkinen now.
Oh yeah, right, cool.
Yeah,
well, that's something we didn't think would happen.
So yeah, now he can probably be. I think he will run for president of.
Yes. Okay.
They're gonna elect him. Fuck it.
If he can be bothered.
Yeah, it was really funny. I think that he was way more excited when he finished the race than when he won the world championship. I mean, I've never seen the guy like that. You know, punching the steering wheel. I think it was such a relief. And he made a couple of comments which are not really Kimi style, but I think there was something that he had here, you know, that he just wanted to say. He said something like, well, now maybe they realized they made the wrong choice, you know, stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, well, kind of. I mean, people, you know, apart from his own team, which may or may not have said something like that, other people in the media had been saying, you know, look, Kimi, you're a number 2, you know, myself included to some degree. And, you know, and I'm happy to say that since Monza, that's not been the case. He's got his reward for that, right? Because, you know, Vettel drove into someone again, and there you go. You know.
Yeah, I mean, Vettel is really in a bad shape. But I just want to say one quick thing about Kimi before, you know, switching to Vettel, is that, and which is something that I know I already said it before, but trust me, Kimi is one of the most considered driver by the engineers. You will not believe how they idolize that guy, because he's consistent, he's a team guy, he has good feedback. So, and there is also the fact that last week there was a young engineer in Ferrari which died, you know, for other reasons. So that was the first race after that guy died, and all the team was in Maranello last Saturday. It was their free day. They all went there. So there is also that fact. And so, yeah, I mean, when you see the people cheering for Kimi, that wasn't a travesty. Everybody was genuinely happy because he's such a good guy.
Absolutely. He has a lot of respect up and down the pit lane. That's for sure.
Not Vettel. Fuck.
No, it's talents. Yeah. Vettel, well, I think he gave up the championship last week or 2 weeks ago, and he's driving as such.
Yeah, Vettel has got a big problem. I think that the thing that Ferrari has to do right now is, you know, besides trying to win the manufacturers championship, which they can still do. I mean, if Kimi races the way he does, it's not something which is completely out of the picture. But the thing that Ferrari has to do, which is very important, is not to let Vettel down, because now the guy is in deep. He has got big problems. I never saw him, so down. So they have to just keep him up, in a way.
Mm.
And the results, another thing which I read about it this week. I don't know the details, but apparently this year has been a very rough year for Vettel for family reasons. I have no idea of the details, but apparently there were 2 or 3 episodes, mostly one, which was really hard on the guy. So and they're human beings. I can understand, if
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we expect a lot, obviously, from these drivers because they get paid so much money and they have been honed to be the best in the world. So obviously the expectations are high, but they are still humans. And I'm sure that explains some of what Lewis's reticence to get into a talking battle with Vettel have been. He's been very respectful for Vettel and said how great a driver he is, which I think is a wise thing to do it anyway. But
yeah, I mean that was okay. I wouldn't say it's kind of a dick move because I'm really sure that Hamilton had the best intentions. When he said what
he sounded genuine. Yeah,
he sounded genuine. So that's the only reason why I'm not picking on the guy, because usually, when you say something like that, it's kind of a dick move. But I'm granting the guy all the benefit of the doubt only because it seemed really genuine.
Yeah, I don't think he's got any reason to talk Vettel down. It only cheapens his own championship.
No, but you see what I mean. Generally, when you do that, you say, yeah, he's a good guy. I mean, yeah, I respect. It's kind of a
no. He's not saying he's a good guy. He said he was a great driver.
Yes, but you see what I mean. When you say something like that, you just it might be seen like a kind of a dick move.
Okay, I do understand what you're saying. Yeah,
but
I think in the egos of the world for Formula One drivers, I think they don't tend to say they're good drivers to each other.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need the other guy to tell you you're a good driver. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
So, but I've never read something, that people interpreted in that way, being kind of a dick move. I don't think that was,
fair enough. Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
So, just moving on then. You basically Alonso, okay. Unlucky, mate. That's just unfortunate. And I guess Leclerc being taken out by Grosjean. What do we think about that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if it's already out, but I think that Grosjean would take a 3 positions penalty for next race, and it will get a point on the license. And the funny thing is that I think that he has 2 points left. So chances are that he will not make all the races this year, if that's a trend.
Okay. So it looked to me like Grosjean outbraked himself and just went into the side of Leclerc. Would that be your?
Yeah, I mean Grosjean was being Grosjean,
Yes.
He just fucking
outbraked himself. Yeah.
So I don't know. No,
well,
yeah.
His imagination is bigger than his left foot.
Yes. There is a saying around here who says that your mouth is bigger than your stomach, so he basically eats more than he can deal with.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
more than his left foot can deal.
Yeah. So I mean, what else? 3 different cars on the podium.
Well, just as a point of criticism, just quickly for Hamilton, I don't criticize him often, but I think he did give too much room for Verstappen. And then afterwards in the press conference say that. And I think that's a mistake fundamentally from Hamilton. It's a minor mistake, but setting up for future problems, I think.
What do you mean?
Well, he said he gave Verstappen too much room, okay, when he was trying to overtake him on the outside. And I think it's a problem because if Verstappen thinks that Lewis is always going to give him that much room, then Lewis will never get by him.
Well, it's also a problem because I think that in that kind of sport you either try or you don't. So if you try, uh, you might do some stupid things like Vettel has been doing, for the last races. But at least you can't say that the guy didn't try.
Sure.
He lost the car, he snapped into Ricciardo. There was another funny thing, and I'm not excusing Vettel, but it's really bizarre. It has been three times that three times he crashed somebody while being on the inside, and he was the guy which spun out. And usually it's the other way around. So
yeah,
I don't want to talk about luck or bad luck because that
well,
was
no, I think clearly that if it happens three times, then you're looking at the car.
Yeah. But back to Hamilton, I agree with you. It's something which I don't know if it's a mistake. It's something pretty stupid to say because you either try or you don't, because you don't risk. If you don't want to try, it's not that you have to.
Well, no, I don't begrudge him being out there. What I begrudge is the fact he gave him half a car's width too much. And if he hadn't have given him that half a car's width, then he would have been passed. And I think, honestly, if he had have done that, Verstappen would have had to back out anyway, because he would have been on too tight a corner. So I think it's a mistake in terms of. I understand that it's not a mistake in terms of the championship. That in fact he didn't really need that place, but then I think that should have been decided beforehand, rather than trying to be out on the marbles.
I think that he really wanted to win the championship in the US.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
I mean, because if you if you have to choose, you'd rather want to win the championship in the US rather than in Mexico.
Yeah, well, by my estimation, he could have done if he hadn't given so much room to Verstappen.
Yeah, but again,
his excuse was it's Verstappen. That's a terrible thing to say.
It is a terrible thing. It is a terrible thing. No, I agree with you. Probably for different reasons, but we are on the same page here. There is also the fact. I mean, they should have recognized that the tactic, be it his tactic or the team tactic, was completely fucked up. They tried for 2 tire changes, and there was a point when he changed the tires that I thought he was going to go the distance with the the yellow tires, but it was apparent from the pace that he was skipping that he was going for two tires change. And I mean that's something which is, I don't know.
If they felt uncomfortable on the red tire and they felt that the yellow tire was going to be more consistent for a slightly longer period, it might still be worth 2 stops on it.
They probably have the data.
Also, there was a moment where they could have stopped and still slightly been ahead of Verstappen, right? So again, tactically, I think Mercedes made an error there, where Lewis could have been past Verstappen already and catching up to Kimi, right? So I don't know. Again, I understand why they didn't pit him when he had a 20-second gap, and whatever it was, a 24-second gap or something to Verstappen. I understand that they wanted to hang on and see if the tires could make it to the end of the race, but I think they should have realised that wasn't going to be the case and pitted him early, or let him run as fast as he could until he wore the tires out, and then come in and pit for some reds and hope that actually was going to be a lot better for the car than it seemed, because it seemed like Verstappen didn't run out of tires.
I think that
that would be my look on it.
Yeah, I think that it's funny you say that. It might be the case. I don't know. I would have to check the times once again, but it never gave me the impression that they were planning of running Hamilton with the yellow tires for the rest of the race, because he was having such a fast pace that, at least to me, I never thought that he was going to make it. My idea was that he was trying to push hard and keep it as long as he could, so that he could have more soft tires to go even faster at the end. I think he was just coked in the middle. People reacted in a different way. So
it turns out they didn't have fresh red tires.
Yes, yeah, that's another problem. I think it's one of those cases where I can't remember who said that. That you can every plan doesn't survive. When you meet the enemy the first time. I think it was
Yeah,
American general stuff like that. I think they made the plan, but and also made there is the fact that both Kimi and Verstappen, we must not forget the guy. He started 18. They made an amazing race. They raced like there was no tomorrow. It was really brilliant on
yeah,
both of them.
yeah. I think they drove their cars very well, without mistake, so to speak.
Mhm.
But again, yeah. Again, I think Lewis had a chance to come in second, but like they said after the race, we were going for the win.
Yeah.
And I think that was a mistake. But anyway, there you go.
Yeah.
What's to be done, Grosjean? You're saying then for outbreaking himself, hopefully will receive a penalty.
I think he will. Last time I checked, he was going to have those penalties. I don't know if it's been if it was something, because I read it yesterday, so I don't know
Sure.
today what they decided. But
Well, I think that would be about right, and I hope that's the case.
oh yeah.
Some of his braking maneuvers have been a bit silly,
Mhm.
but nonetheless, that's chaos for you. And then the other thing would be obviously Red Bull have new engines to take for Mexico,
Yeah,
but we're hoping
and
that's going to do some good, are we?
it's going to do some good to Verstappen. I don't know if it's going to do some good to Ricciardo, because have you listened? I don't know if it went on the UK commentary what Marco said about Ricciardo.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, that was so cruel. And I mean, if I were Ricciardo, I will literally dump in the car, and not start the next race, because they asked Helmut Marko about Ricciardo, said, that was unfortunate, blah, 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 blah. And Helmut Marko said it was an electrical problem. Apparently, it was a battery, something related to the battery. And he added, well, Ricciardo is better get used, because this is what is going to happen to him for the whole next year.
Ah, yes.
That was really, really. I mean, to be fair, in the same comment, he also said that next year with Honda, Red Bull will be challenging the championship. So I don't really know if there was some good weed going on, but apparently Helmut Marko had a very good batch, because I really have no idea what the fuck is going on.
I see. So
Yeah.
we're saying he may have fallen out with Renault. That's what we're saying, basically.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, Richard better get used to it, because this is, apparently what's going to happen to him all next year. And he also said, but with Honda, we're going to challenge the championship, which is okay.
They made some good strides forward. I would hate to think that, I would obviously think that making strides forward is not the same as improving reliability. And that's obviously going to be what has been Renault's issue for this year, at least anyway. And if they've managed to get on top of that, which they certainly seem to be trying to do, then they might be in a better position with Honda, even though the Honda produces more power.
I mean, I really don't know. I know it's a different situation, okay? But every time, I mean, when I heard Helmut Marko saying that about, next year with Honda, I could not help but remember what Ron Dennis said, And I know it's a different situation. They had data from Toro Rosso from the old year. So probably Helmut Marko knows a little bit more than what Ron Dennis knew at the time. But still, I still remember what Ron Dennis said. And I struggle, I mean, there was a smirk on my face. So, yeah.
I think so. I mean, also the fact that they have no choice, right? If they've fallen out with Renault, they had no choice.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, they've got no choice but to say this about the Honda.
Oh, yeah. It was either that or get an old Cosworth.
Sure. And we know that, reliability is about producing power from an engine, not over one race or 2 races, but over like 5 races. Okay. So, it's not the same, right? And even if the Honda does give us good, good power, well, they're new engines, and of course that's not necessarily a challenge if
Yeah.
for 1 or 2 races. So I'm yet to see that the Honda has improved to the standard that's required when you're talking about a Mercedes or a Ferrari.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I mean, making a fast engine, it's not that hard.
Mm.
It's very tough to make a fast engine which actually lasts a long time, right now.
Indeed.
So
Yeah, and also, so I mean, well, not also. Let's just move it on slightly. So we've been talking about Mexico and Grosjean and Red Bull. What do we think? What do we think about Ferrari at Mexico?
I don't know. It seems to be Ferrari regained some. It was. It seems to be it was competitive again, at least on the on race times, on race day,
And
well,
qualifying.
and qualifying was good too. Yeah, so I agree. I think they made they had a new bottom. Just the
Sure.
skirts. It was a new one. They apparently they make a couple of steps back on the development. They went back a couple of steps in some areas, and that seems to be the good route. Again, with no tests, it's really tough. As you said at the beginning, it's really tough. To figure out what works and what doesn't. So, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. The championship, of course, is gone, but it might be interesting to see what happens for the manufacturers. And I'm going to say it right now, it might not be the last race that Kimi Raikkonen wins with Ferrari.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, that would be good news as far as I'm concerned, obviously. There's only one person I'd like to win more, and that's Jenson Button.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree with you. I love the guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Eddie Irvine were my two favorites.
Eddie Irvine. Oh my
God. Eddie Irvine was. He was the fucking best, man. I loved him more than Nigel Mansell. It was. I didn't know what the fuck was with the guy, but I just loved him.
Yeah, I love his stories about Michael Schumacher. That's they are hilarious. Okay, so Mexico, then you think the Ferrari's got a good chance. The top speed's going to be okay, yeah, and therefore they're going to be matching the Mercedes. I personally think Mercedes will have the tire situation sorted out by Mexico, and this is going to be a close race. I think really what's going to happen is Red Bull are going to be right up there, and you're going to get relatively low downforce versus high downforce. And that's going to be really an interesting combination.
Yeah, they had some changes on the tire pressures because of safety reasons. And there was another thing which I read, but not too much. Maybe you did more than I did. But apparently there was something with the rear rims of Mercedes. Because
I haven't heard that. Sorry.
I mean, it is just hearsay because I literally heard it, but I haven't read anything. But apparently there was something from the federation. They inspected, the whole rear part of Mercedes, including the rims and all that stuff. And again, don't take my words, we got to check it out. But it seems to be they released something saying that it was well, it wasn't illegal, but they said that there was something which was slightly illegal, which I think it's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. if that's the case, I got to find, the
bits, yeah. But okay, that's something to look out for. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what they wrote, I think that's a complete travesty. Because something is either illegal or it isn't. Slightly illegal.
The only thing I heard was a potential rule break for, was it Ocon, for fuel flow regulation on the first lap?
Yeah, no, I think that was before the race. They inspected, how they have the, the strange rims that they put on Mercedes now. Apparently they I don't know if they heat the tire a little bit more or less. I can't remember the sake of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, we'll just have to look out for that, and we'll report on that in Mexico.
Yes.
Which, of course, is probably 1 week away.
It is next week. Yeah.
Spend 6 days. So that's hugely exciting. We're getting to the point where the title is going to be confirmed, and then we're back open for the number 2 races, number 2 drivers to race as hard as they want. So
yeah,
and that's all I can say.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that we haven't even mentioned Bottas, because
I don't know what happened. I think both the Mercedes really suffered badly from rear tire wear, and it's likely to be the case that that's going to be like that for the rest of the season now. So
still Bottas.
Yeah, well, if they keep the pressures the same, I mean, the Mercedes is particularly crucial on the pressures. So I do think that's Anyway, well, I won't go into conspiracy theories there. But,
no, I mean, there's no conspiracy. I mean, Bottas, is not a good driver at all. So, I mean, there is no fucking conspiracy there. He just sucks balls. I'm not even talking about how he made Hamilton, pass him. That was, I was looking in the mirror and just moved, which is okay. It's how he couldn't. I mean.
Yeah, no, he had to stop to deliver some milk or something.
Yeah, I have no fucking idea. I don't know. He probably has a second job where he delivers pizza or stuff like that. There must be something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But I feel for him. But there you go. I don't think I think he did the best he could with the car.
Yeah.
Those. I just think that the rear tires ran out, and once that happens, I don't know what they were thinking, Mercedes, like keeping Hamilton out as long as they did when it was clear that his rear tires had gone off. So, I don't know. They dropped to like 141 lap times. That's just crazy when everybody else is doing 38s.
Yeah, it was really funny. I mean, there was Verstappen made a comment during the race. They informed that Hamilton was having a problem with the tires. And Verstappen replied, "Yeah, we knew that the yellow tires were not that good."
Yeah.
So Anyway.
Yeah. I was quite amazed by that comment actually. That was like but then who's to say the Mercedes wouldn't have been even worse on the red tire?
Oh yeah, I mean no, you're right. I mean every car behaves different differently with different tires. So there is that. But it was quite telling. Anyway.
Well, hopefully they'll be dry next week and we'll get some decent practices in. And at least we'll get a decent race, because I think it's a bit gimmicky if some people can't take advantage of the of the tires. I mean, some people can.
Yeah, unless everybody pisses on the track, on Friday, because there is a lot of beer going on in Mexico. So there might be a wet track.
You never know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't mind the wet races. It's the wet practices that I don't like.
It would be very good to see a wet race, actually.
Yeah, it's been a long while, but there you go. Okay, let's cut it off there. Thank you so much for everybody that's watched, and we'll watch in the future. We really appreciate that.
Yes.
Let me just check something to make sure. Yep, everything's good. And so we will see you next week for the Mexico Grand Prix. Vive la Mexico. Vive la Formula One.
Yes.
Okay. Ciao.
Ciao.